Devil May Cry 5 Special Ultra Super Hyper Remix Edition. Plus, the game where a single character can easily decimate hordes of enemies is known for its bizarre gameplay. Violent to the point of hilarity, the series embraces its odd nature by never taking itself too seriously. It's why the Super Ultra Hyper Edition Plus, a piece of DLC for Dead Rising 3... No, that's not it. That's Capcom's other IP. Here we go. Special Edition is an expansion pack developed and published by Capcom for the critically acclaimed game.
You know, Capcom, you did really good with the graphics this time. I'll give it an A-.
Similar to the base game, the expansion puts the player into the role of a hunter, slaying or trapping large monsters solo or cooperatively with other players. Iceborne features a new Arctic ecosystem named the No, that's Capcom's other IP Monster Hunter World. Wait, oh, I got it. In this brand new DLC experience, you play in an alternate timeline as if the player had made different decisions within the story. You play as one of the protagonist's brother in a different story using brand new moves introduced to the game never before seen in the franchise, snapping necks, tearing off heads, and unleashing brutal combos, even going as far as finding and crafting different weapons in this brand new for the game DLC. End of Zoe. Did I mention I was talking about Resident Evil? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Fire himself, Halfpint once again. Today we're going to be talking about Devil May Cry 5, Special Edition specifically. It seems as if for the longest time, the Devil May Cry series has been struggling firmly with getting more content, whether that's on the release of the game or post-release. Now that's not to shame the series at all. It's still a great game with stylish combos and an amazing story, even though it's a brief story, it's still a great story, but for the longest time, the community has longed for more content for the series. And today I figured I'd go ahead and break that down to make it as simple as possible. And I figured I'd do this by trying to bring all the community's thoughts together inside of one conclusive video. Probably one of the best ways to get a hold of Capcom, since that seems to be what Matt Walker oftenly says. Devil May Cry 5 is an amazing game consisting of new and old experiences alike, not trying many new ideas, but when they do land. Also staying consistent with the series. The story was engaging from start to finish. The combat is so smooth that it's criminal there isn't more to use it on. Graphically superior to many games of even today, and memorable dialogue as well as characters.
If you want it, then you'll have to take it.
The game was great for newcomers who never played any of the preceding titles before and had plenty of surprises for the veterans. The game is a masterpiece for its entire genre, which is exactly why I'll be spending a majority of the time ranting about the Special Edition. I don't know what it is with Capcom and being unwilling to add anything new to the franchise, for the game or even post-release content. Devil May Cry started off as a small niche franchise developed off of a game that was going to be a Resident Evil sequel but slowly became its own game over time. The growth of the audience was very gradual, but we now arrive to today with its 5th chronological iteration, several controversial decisions later, and a massive audience for the series. Devil May Cry 5's success is nothing to flock at. One of the biggest changes for the franchise was in 2005 with the announcement of a special edition release of Devil May Cry 3. With the addition of Virgil and a few quality of life improvements. But even since then, it's been the same. Capcom repeats the same formula when it comes to adding any additions to Devil May Cry. You have the game's official release, and sometime after receiving a special edition of the game, including small gameplay tweaks, an additional costume or two, and playable character Virgil, with the exception of Devil May Cry 4 that also included Lady and Trish as playable characters. Also, Capcom, where's my playable lady in Devil May Cry 5? That's not a joke. The Devil May Cry community has been very vocal about wanting more for the game, especially after waiting a decade for its official sequel. Virgil is a very great character, but the third time later is very underwhelming regardless of how the character plays. And considering he just retreads the campaign, he should honestly just be added from the start.
Oh, hey, look, Mom, I'm playing D-Man Wales. This looks kind of familiar.
DMC follows a very simple formula for its game that leaves much to be desired for the series. Whereas other Capcom titles get content after release inside of free updates or bigger additions such as DLCs, Devil May Cry banks everything it has on the release of a special edition for the game. Fans of the series would literally take anything they can get, and that even applies to just getting skins. Even when accepting calls from subscribers during a live stream, most people who ask questions boil down to very, very niche thoughts about the possibility of how a new move works. That really goes to show the lack of substance coming from the special edition if that's the biggest thing to look forward to. And that Doesn't even mention the frustrations from the community that some of the new features won't be coming to PC. For instance, Ray Tracing, Turbo Mode, and Legendary Dark Knight Mode won't be coming at all to PC and will have to be modded into the game. Or at least that's as far as we know, unless there's a future date released for the PC that has not yet been announced. Inside of Iceborne, I'm wondering all the new armor and weapons we're going to get, and some of the new monsters to fight. Resident Evil, I'm curious about the brand new story experience that will come and the horrors that we'll find through. Devil May Cry 5, I'm scratching my head why Virgil is once again retreading the same story for the third iteration that he's playable, and if that's what they're going to do with him, why not just include him from the start? But even a game without post-release content can flourish. So what makes it a problem with DMC? Aside from the fact that the franchise is treated like Capcom's red-headed child and is more than enough of an audience to justify adding more to the game has followed the same formula for even its base game for years, leaving it predictable and stale for many of the fans of the series. And again, it's not like the fans are really asking for much. With how little the community receives for content drops, it really wouldn't be that hard to add substance to satisfy. As much as I want new campaigns, DLCs, and expansions, you could really make it as simple as adding new skins or modes. Let's take an example. DMC Devil May Cry. As easy as it would be to talk terribly about this game, that horse has been beaten, murdered, beaten while murdered, run over by an angry mob, and torn apart limb for limb. At this point, Devil May Cry 5 has released, and DMC's future has been completely cancelled. I'm not here to talk badly about this game. This time. That's for a future video. Subscribe, shameless plug. I'm going to talk about what Ninja Theory got right, and that's right here. DMC's Definitive Edition added more content after the game itself released DLCs already. Multiple Dante skins, Virgil's individual campaign and story, weapon skins, and Bloody Palace. Yeah, Bloody Palace was a DLC for DMC, just another mistake the game made. With the release of the Definitive Edition, not only was there a laundry list of patch notes for the game with details as small as removing Virgil's fedora, the Definitive Edition of the game added new modes, not just difficulties. Not only was there the return of Turbo Mode, but there also came Must Style Mode, which only allowed the player to do more damage once they had hit S rank. The beauty was Must Style Mode could be enabled on any difficulty. Devil May Cry as a series has always been heavy on its amount of difficulties for its replay value, when more of this could be added with modes. The biggest offender being Hell in Hell. Why this is locked to Son of Sparta difficulty and not just a mode allowed for the player's chosen difficulty is a huge loss with every iteration that has repeated this. The same goes for Legendary Dark Knight, which would serve better as a mode for any difficulty use instead of locking it to Son of Sparta only. Examples like this lower the skill floor so more players get around to playing it without lowering the skill ceiling and doubles as more content for the veterans. You could even use it on harder difficulties as well. On top of this, Must Style Mode is still exclusive to DMC, yet is probably the easiest thing to implement out of everything talked about thus far. Modes are an excellent medium for both newcomers to stick around and improve while giving veterans more to tackle. And if we're strictly talking about modes, don't stop there. Take a look at Crash 4 with its surplus of modes on launch day, time trials, inverted mode, changing the screen with effects as like noir colors or vintage mode, or the mode that allows you to only see once you hit boxes. Is that too far of an idea for DMC except for hitting enemies instead? Hell, most of the creative content has already been done in the past with Devil May Cry 4 and DMC Devil May Cry challenges. Except use some of those fun challenges for more modes for playthrough options. Add a score attack mode where the score literally attacks you if you don't perform well enough in each battle. But if players want to customize their experience more, give them modifiers for each playthrough that can only enhance your score or hurt it depending on each modifier. For examples. And boom, just like that, you have inherently more than triple the experiences without actually adding new assets to the game, which seems to be Capcom's concern considering that Virgil is literally a campaign retread without creating new assets. But in all honesty, some of these ideas seem long overdue at this point, and the community has grown enough for this game that it seems about time we actually got additional content for the game. If you ask me, I can see more than a return on investment when it comes to adding this sort of content, even post-release, considering the fact that Devil May Cry 5 sold millions of copies. Hell yeah, this game made more than a profit. One thing I always bring up is Lady, hashtag Lady5. The biggest reason because she is the most unique character that the series has seen. She's optional, and that makes her great that Capcom took the risk with the character's entire kit being different. Although it seems like Gunslinger, it is more than just using Gunslinger, with the amount of weapons that she gets to use in different guns and variety. Her whole kit is built upon using different guns in unique manners, and I love it. It's so cheesy, and it's the best part of it. If you're going to just retread the campaign, then at least add multiple characters to do so, even if it's DLCs that come over time. It doesn't have to just be the release of Special Edition. You can add DLCs later on like Street Fighter. We'll take more characters. Do it. Add a season pass for more characters, for God's sake. We will take it. We want anything we can get from more games. Devil May Cry 5 alone has a great baseline that we'll take for more characters right now. We don't have to wait for a new game to come out yet. The community is dying for more in every department, story, gameplay, and content. And with that being the community's desire, it amuses me that Virgil, as important of a character as he has become, has only received a standalone campaign in the reboot and has continued to be used as the selling point of special edition releases. But you don't have to take my word for it. Ask your local DMC community member their opinion on the state of the game. And while you're at it, let me give you the opinion of other content creators on their opinion of Devil May Cry as it is. What is the best way you can describe the Devil May Cry series?
The Devil May Cry series is just a spectacular punch in your face, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, because it just throws everything at you. It has you immersed in this crazy world.
What is the best way I can describe the Devil May Cry series? Fun, frantic, and stylish.
A high-energy, borderline wacky video game series with incredibly deep and expressive combat mechanics.
For me personally, it's all about the story. I feel that it has a really deep story. It has well-crafted characters, but I feel it has something that keeps you engaged. How badass the characters are and how they pull off their moves.
The best way I can describe the Devil May Cry series is a innovator and pioneer in what many would consider a hack and slash series. The only reason I'm hesitant to call it that is because it comes with this negative connotation that you're just spamming buttons, when in reality there's so many unique ways to not only just play the game and string combos together, but there's just so many different ways to play it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm an OG Devil May Cry fan. I remember as a kid, like looking at the first like gameplay trailer for Devil May Cry 1 a long time ago at GameStop, and I feel like that was a game I had to get my hands on.
It's hard to describe, but it's just this phenomenon. It's like this action phenomenon that, you know, continues to just expand.
While it's a very short game in terms of like how long the campaign or missions are, it's got a lot of replayability to it. And the story is fairly simple, but the characters are so well thought out.
How did I come across the DMC series? Well, I was playing since the very first game, but while I liked that game and it meant a lot to me growing up, it wasn't a game that I got obsessive about, you know what I mean? Although I have learned to love it a lot more with time as I've revisited it, but I didn't truly fall in love with the series until 3.
Oh, I came across the DMC series way back 2007 or 2008. My first game was Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition for the PC. I saw my brother playing that one. When he's not around, I open the computer, play it, and then we end up fighting because his save file was overwritten by me.
So I was going to your typical mom and pop shop, and at the time, my family didn't have a whole lot of money, and I wanted to buy a game. So I had to go buy one of the used games, and I found this CD for the original Devil May Cry or Devil May Cry 1, and I really liked the cover art for it. And it stuck with me because at a young age, I was still watching Inuyasha with my dad, which had the exact same parallels to Devil May Cry.
I actually came across the DMC series from one of my friends who's no longer with us. You know, he was just playing the demo and I thought that it was cool. I was like, this kind of reminds me of Blade the Vampire Hunter. And I was like, man, this is dope. You know, like I like the concept. I like that this guy is fighting this giant spider, which we all know is the Phantom.
So how did I come across the DMC series? Well, thankfully I had some older siblings who had a decent sense in what games they bought. I remember being introduced to the series by my older brother, who was playing the game one day as I woke up and ran in to play some games. And I remember very vividly sitting down and just watching him play, and then being horrified when I was handed the controller and not knowing what to do. I almost died instantly in DMC 1. That kind of set me on a course to just be interested in the series overall.
It was 2008 when a friend introduced me to DMC4, and since then I had a blast playing 4 and now 5. As I said before, graphics, the story, the characters, this is what's keeping me engaged in this game. And back in 2008, I think 4, alongside Assassin's Creed, the first one, the original one, were the 2 games that I spent most of the time playing on my PC. So since then, I've been engaged with the series and everything.
What is my favorite entry in the series? It still has to be 3. No doubt in my mind, it's definitely still 3.
I'm not trying to be biased, but my favorite entry in the series is Devil May Cry 3.
My favorite entry in the series would have to be Devil May Cry 3, because that's what actually got me back on board after being disappointed with Devil May Cry 2, which, in all honesty, it's not really that bad of a game, because it did introduce a lot of elements, like the whole, shooting in different directions with the dual pistols, and it was the first game to introduce Rebellion, but it was a game that was like very disappointing. And just seeing how they just did a complete 180 with Devil May Cry 3, and seeing Dante have more style and more charisma than ever before is what really just got me back on there. It was like a revitalization.
That's the best way to introduce yourself in the DMC series. That's the game that really impacted me a lot.
I think 4 has better combat and mechanics. 5 is just better polished all around. I mean, Christ, just look at it. And it does have a better range of characters, especially now with Special Edition coming out with Virgil and all of that. But 3 is just so cohesive and airtight in the experience it wants to provide. Like, everything from the story to the boss design to the level design to the setting, just every aspect of it is so considered in terms of like what it wants you to feel from moment to moment.
Devil May Cry 5 is the best action game they've produced yet. Devil May Cry 3 had the best story. Devil May Cry 1 holds the most nostalgia for me, because just like how I talked about how I was introduced to the series, that's still fresh in my mind for me. So I have these rose-tinted goggles when I think about Devil May Cry 1. It holds a lot of nostalgia for me.
So it has to be 4. In my personal opinion, 5 has the best graphics out of all the 5 in the series, excluding DMC Reboot. But story-wise, it has to be hands down. The best story is DMC 4.
My favorite entry in the Devil May Cry series is Devil May Cry 4. The reason for that is because we were introduced to a new character as Nero. Don't get me wrong, I still love Dante, but I love that they were taking the story in different directions. So that's what I loved about 4.
What is my favorite entry in the Devil May Cry series? A question I get asked quite often, and most people tend to think it's 5 or 3, and whilst those are close contenders for my favorite, I think DMC 1 will always hold that special place in my heart, primarily perhaps maybe due to nostalgia, but also because I think it's just probably the most unique entry in the series. If you like DMC 3, you can probably get your DMC 3 fix by playing DMC 4 or DMC 5, just because they play so closely. But DMC 1 is unique in that it is the only game that is a weird mix of Devil May Cry and Resident Evil.
For my most favorite moments in Devil May Cry 5, I love seeing V fighting those reanimated bosses like the Voltaic Knight, Cavalier Angelo. Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments.
My favorite aspects of DMC 5 was actually just having those 3 characters. You having Dante and Nero and V, the introductory of V. It's like, even though like Dante and Nero, we're familiar with them, they added some things to them to spice it up, to make the gameplay progress, to evolve it. I really love that. Just love how like all these different characters to play around with, and just get familiar with their gameplay.
One of the things I like about DMC5 is how it included some of the expanded lore from some of the extracurricular items in the series, such as including Nico and Nell Goldstein from the original Devil May Cry novels.
My favorite thing about Devil May Cry 5 was the mystery and the story behind it. Who was Urizen and who was V?
My favorite thing from Devil May Cry 5 would, Jesus, have you played it? The thing's unreal. Off the top of my head, King Cerberus may now be my favorite weapon in any action game ever. I absolutely adore that thing. Likewise, the soundtrack, the fact that it brought back DMC in and of itself is enough to make me excited and love it with all of my heart.
My favorite thing about Devil May Cry 5, I think, was just the fact that we went on hiatus for so long, and then I absolutely love that it was a complete Virgil story. My least favorite aspect of that is how little they fleshed out in terms of like backstory. What happened to him after the events of Nello Angelo, or even just using some of the material that's in Visions of V.
But Devil May Cry 5, it's hard to hate any aspect of that game. It's like they did so much. I mean, it's very hard to say what my least favorite thing about that game is, but I guess not enough Virgil.
My least favorite thing about DMC5, I guess, is the locale of it. You start the game out in the streets of Redgrave City, and then you're kind of shepherded or fast-tracked into the Clyfoth Tree, where you stay for the majority of the game, and it does tend to be a little dull at times, especially when you play mission after mission in this somewhat of a hellscape. But I think Capcom could have done a lot more to freshen up the mission locations in DMC5.
The least favorite moment that I have in Devil May Cry 5 was the mission 5, where Nero just fight the Gilgamesh alone. Like the mission should be long, or they could have made a longer mission aside from just facing that thing. Maybe they're just in haste, or they just made this mission to occupy some mission slots.
As for my least favorite thing, and I realize this is kind of a weird one, and potentially even kind of niche, but I find that it can get a bit self-congratulatory in ways that feel a little obnoxiously shameless now that we've gotten further from the initial release. The game seems to really love to treat Dante with this deep reverence. He's this legend, he's this borderline god, he's all of these things, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I feel that way as a fan, but I've also always found that Dante as a character works best in these games as a human first, all-powerful demon lord a very distant second, and we didn't get much of that here.
Okay. My least favorite thing about it is, and I understand, and this is understandable, is playing as Dante, he feels slower, at least to me.
I do feel there should be more for the DMC series, especially when comparing it to some other Capcom IPs. Where is hardcore mode or Must Style mode? These things were prevalent in the reboot and people really liked it. Where are they in DMC5? Along with that, what happened to the costumes? 3 Special Edition added a plethora of them. A lot of the Special Editions added a lot of features, and I can see why people are disappointed with 5 SE, considering that in comparison it can be pretty bare bones. # where is the Ladies Night DLC?
Just because they wanted to have a DMC game ready for next-gen consoles, they left out stuff that should have put in the initial DMC 5 that we all get last year. They wanted to release a game for next-gen consoles, therefore they put this special edition afterwards, and the only content that we're getting is Virgil, Ray Tracing, and Legendary Dark Knight, which I don't think, in my personal opinion, justifies people that already bought the game to pay again a full price for only getting those upgrades.
So I've said this multiple times, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face and people start listening. And I'm particularly disappointed because Capcom has shown time and time again that they are capable of value, but refuse to show it when it comes down to Devil May Cry. What I mean by that, and I know people hate when I make the Monster Hunter reference because they say, well, it's always been popular in Japan, but that doesn't, that to me is, while it's a solid point, Iceborne or their That's kind of their special edition, if you will. That's their DLC. Is an entire AAA title's worth of content. They could have made that an entire sequel. There's so much packed in there.
Like, I get why someone might feel that way, especially like when you look at something like Street Fighter or Monster Hunter. Look, I was a Mega Man fan before I was a DMC fan. So in my eyes, I can't help but feel spoiled by Capcom when they opt to give us this ultra high budget game finally to the end of a series with special editions for all of them, as well as a reboot in between. Regardless of what you think of any of those releases, I think it's pretty obvious that Capcom knows that Devil May Cry as a franchise is worth continuing, especially now. With that said, provided that they're up to the standards we expect, I'd of course like more DMC and more DMC games. I know what it looks and feels like when Capcom earnestly doesn't give a shit about a franchise anymore. It looks like Mega Man and Street Fighter X Tekken.
I definitely feel like there should be more for the games. There should be an actual cooperative mode that was just introduced with Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition for the Switch. I think they need to try to, carry that over into this, since we do have multiple characters to play with. And I feel like they should try to expand on the story, because there were certain things that weren't really elaborated on. You had to go through the novels or the journals or whatever to figure out how Dante acquired certain weapons and stuff, like the Balrog gauntlets. I would love to see those things expanded on in game format, since they were expanded on in like the graphic novels that also tie into the game.
Yeah, I think there should be more Devil May Cry games, considering that they made a lot of sales for Devil May Cry 5. I think they should invest in making some prequels, since most of us, especially the newcomers, don't have any idea about the lore of Devil May Cry franchise itself. Yeah, I guess it's gonna be good for the two parties, the consumer and the producer. They will generate more revenues. We will be happy to receive their games because we are waiting for it for a very long time. We are always requesting it. We are ranting about it. So I guess making more game from the Devil May Cry franchise would be better for the both parties, from Capcom and the players.
I do feel like there should be more for the games. The reboot, it was unique in its own way. It was different, and the fact that they gave Virgil his own campaign was amazing to me. I definitely feel like Lady and Trish should have had their own campaign within the game too. And that didn't even have to be a special edition thing. It could have been just, their parts of the story of, how they got to Urizen or whatever. It didn't have to be backseat drivers.
I definitely feel like there should be more, what I'm saying? I loved getting the addition of Virgil up in the special edition, because that's his last name. That's his middle and last name. I definitely think that they should give as much as they can, give us something that's going to make it worth buying again. Like I love Virgil, I'm always going to enjoy him, like playing with him in these, but I just want more. It's crazy. I think Capcom still has that philosophy of, we just can expand on this in a separate, disc or whatever, just make it on a separate disc. But I think that there should be a point to where they should realize that, hey, we have more than enough space. Let's just go ahead and give this game that they've already purchased a facelift instead of just buying a whole new disc. Let's put some new features on there. Let's kind of, let's add the stuff that we usually add, like the Bloody Palace and Legendary Dark Knight mode, but let's add other things too, like the multiplayer that I mentioned. Why not just give us more episodes or more DLC cutscenes and stuff to add to the story?
Considering it's year 2020, I guess they should add more game modes, specifically for online interaction, like PvPs or sort of, because I don't think cameo system is enough, because that won't let us interact with other players, because we are looking for that. Maybe a co-op Bloody Palace, maybe a boss rush mode would be better as well. And I don't think adding Virgil and playing the same missions with Dante, Nero, and V would be the best option. But instead, they should add more content to it, like a story mission for a story mode for Virgil, because they have done that on Devil May Cry Reboot. There's something that's holding them back in doing that thing.
It would be cool if DMC5 had more, but I'm also more than comfortable with it just just being one of the most robust and dynamic action game characters ever released.
I think the way Capcom have handled 5 Special Edition is kind of weird. You know, the whole PC debacle, the whole current gen not getting all of 5 SE. I think it's cool that they've provided Virgil for a cheap, affordable price. And I think what we have here for Virgil is great, but there is always the capacity for more.
Speaking about special edition, that should be really special because I don't think that's enough for us consumers or players to have Virgil alone and the Turbo alone. Like it should be in the base game. Primarily, Devil May Cry's main characters are Dante and Virgil.
So here's my stance on Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. I'm content with just Virgil, but quite frankly, they for sure deserve to have more. And I know there's a lot of people that want Lady and Trish, and I understand them taking a back seat for the series, for the original game, but there's just no excuse when it comes to Special Edition. There's no reason the heroine shouldn't be playable at this point.
For sure, Virgil is not enough. I mean, let's not forget that we have unfinished business with ladies that we still don't know if we're getting any sort of content. If they can sell really well again with only Virgil, they will do that.
I don't think Virgil is enough for the special edition because he's in the base game, he's supposed to be there, he's supposed to be playable because he's one of the primary characters, Dante and Virgil.
I'm concerned about the future for the series because I'm afraid that they're going to go on a big hiatus again. When I think back that Itsuno had this long list of games that he wanted to work on, and then I wouldn't say commitment, right? Because he's for sure committed. But I just don't want him to go on a big hiatus again before we ever see another Devil May Cry sequel or whatever, whether that's in the form of a remake, prequel, whatever. I'm afraid. And the easiest way to say it is just that I'm very, very concerned.
My only concern for the future of the series is how they could possibly replace Dante and Virgil. If you played the game, then you know it ends off fairly conclusively for them for the time being. And while I'm a huge fan of Nero and his gameplay, he just does not have the same level of depth as either of them. However, with that said, I also trust that Itsuno and team haven't forgotten why we fell in love with this series to begin with, as evidenced by Devil May Cry 5 itself. So it's hard for me to get too anxious about it.
I think the series is in a better place than it was 5 years ago. DMC5 exceeded expectations. You know, it's the fastest selling and best selling Devil May Cry. We've got the DMC anime on the horizon somewhere, wherever it is. So I can only think that Capcom are currently scheming up the next entry in the Devil May Cry series.
Hopefully, the next installment is going to be the development of Devil May Cry 6 is going to be in a shorter period than what we got at with DMC5.
The future looks bright. You know, I feel like even though Hideaki Itsuno says that he wants to move on to different projects, I feel like there's always going to be that one person that has passion, and I think that Matt Walker could take the franchise if he wanted to and continue it because he seems so passionate about it. You know, the torch continues from Hideki Kamiya to Hideaki Itsuno and now potentially to Matt Walker. You know, he can be this liaison from the Western audience to the Japanese audience to keep this thing going.
I think ultimately the confidence in the series has risen, and no doubt the next entry in the Devil May Cry series will probably have an even larger budget than DMC5, so I'm hoping it'll have even more content. In regards to whether or not that game will have a special edition, who knows? I hope not. I hope they can get everything down into one game. But you know the fan demand is always going to be there, so no doubt there'll probably be some post-release DLC. Is that going to be a special edition? Who knows? Only time will tell.
Last question. Are you ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
Yep.
Gonna be something spicy, I can tell.
I was born ready.
Not quite sure, but let's go. Let's hear it.
Yes or no? Pineapple pizza.
What? No, wait.
Pineapple absolutely belongs on pizza.
No. Hard no. Absolutely fucking not.
Damn!
Pineapple pizza, 100%.
If you don't enjoy that, it's because you're a subhuman ape and you haven't developed the taste buds to appreciate it.
Is it? Actually, it's delicious. I can drink pineapple juice as well while while eating the pineapple pizza.
Doesn't Dante fucking eat pineapple? I don't know. So it's gonna be a hard no for me.
Pineapple pizza, man, it might seem like the worst thing ever invented and that somebody should just jump in the fire, but hey, it's one of the best creations yet, you know, one of the best kept secrets, you know, just try it.
No.
I honestly really love having pineapple on my pizza.
I was like, don't knock it till you try it.
So let's quickly recap why we think Devil May Cry deserves more content. The game's formula has been stagnant for well over a decade. The game focuses more on player combos over dynamic enemy encounters, hence why more content is important now more than ever, with inclusions such as more modes and in-game modifiers. The release model of no DLCs or updates until the release of a special edition leaves what could be a thriving community to be left hungry for more content. And on top of that, Devil May Cry's sales figures show more than enough motivation and a return of investment if additional content was developed for the series. This is the justification for why Devil May Cry deserves more. The developers have shown much interest for Devil May Cry as well. It's not like they're being chained to this game. Matt Walker, the community manager, always asked us to be more vocal so that Capcom higher-ups would hear us. And this right here is it, buddy. So let's have our voices heard for the DMC community.
This was a triumph.
Made it this far in the video. Thank you. This was a long project to work on. It was only supposed to take about a week, but took me well over a month just to get this thing out. Subscribing and sharing goes a long ways for this video, especially doing a great justice for the people who participated inside of the video as well. Random Black Gamer, Codex Entry, John Fleer, Jojo Wi-Fi, Devil Never Cry, Tashelli, the EX Game Master. All wonderful people, and I appreciate them for stopping by in today's video. Check out each of them for wonderful videos. They all make great content, with RBG doing great breakdowns, Codex Entry, a wonderful editing style when it comes to analysis videos, John Fleer really out there championing the DMC community, Jojo Wi-Fi and Devil Never Cry are both really good dudes. I'd buy a beer for both of those guys in a heartbeat. I'd talk to them almost on the regular. Go check out their channels, they make great content, Devil May Cry related or not. Shelly was a guy that was trying to make content for quite some time and kind of got shafted during the DMC news cycle. He got himself up to 900 subs, and ever since then, YouTube has not been kind to him. You guys want to go ahead and subscribe to him, see if we can get him to 1,000 subs. That would be absolutely excellent. He's just about there. And Game Master is just a good buddy of mine. He makes some real good shenanigan videos. Be sure to go check him out whenever you guys get the chance. As for myself, you can expect more content down the pipeline in the future. Not just big videos, but you can expect some regular content as well. You can feel free to subscribe and check out some of my other content channel if you haven't already, see what kind of stuff that I already make. I am still at 5,000 subs. I've been at that number almost all year, so let's see if we can blow past 5,000 subs before the end of the year. I'd greatly appreciate it. But either way, thank you all very much for stopping by. You're absolutely wonderful. With that being said, for the longest time, you guys have requested that I open up a donation page, and I'm finally happy to announce that down below, I have linked Subscribestar, a page I now have where you guys can donate for some exclusives, incentives, and pledge for as little as $5 today to get exclusive roles inside of Discord, as well as be a part of my future streams, or even ask me questions in the future for bigger videos such as this. For this time alone, I went ahead and asked people inside of the Discord. Again, link down below if you want to get in touch with me. Discord is a great way to do so. You guys are absolutely all wonderful. I did choose Subscribestar over Patreon. They both function the same. However, with Subscribestar, if I'm having any platform taking a portion of my donations, I want to make sure it's from a platform that won't kick me off just because I did something that they don't agree with. So that's why I decided to go Subscribestar instead of Patreon, but they both function just the same. With that being said, let me go ahead and answer some of your guys' questions. Why don't you have chalky milk at every stream? Sometimes you just need Mountain Dew to get through some of those videos, or even some of the games that I play. Is the bed real?
You want the truth? There is no fridge!
I'll let you speculate more on that. What made you want to start YouTube, and are there any plans for the holiday season? Starting YouTube was always something I wanted to do. It started back in 2010 when I started watching the Syndicate Project. Ever since then, I've always wanted to start making YouTube videos to entertain people and get that interaction going. I love seeing your guys' comments, and I read them all the time. As for the holiday season, we got a lot of plans this month. I'll say that very much. Where's the other half of your pint? Is it the bottom or the top half of the pint that's missing? You pick. Why am I so handsome? You're an absolute Chad. Halfpint consider himself a Chad, and if not, is he practicing the ways of the Chad? And is JoJo Wi-Fi actually using Wi-Fi? I can't answer that last question, but I can say that not just a Chad, I'm a pint. A half pint. Best and worst mods you've ever played and why? I'm gonna cheat on this one, and half the mods not being playable in Nexus anymore just because they update the Master Chief Collection is a huge no-no for me. As for my best mod, well, there's a certain one close to my heart. As for this being a goodbye for me when it comes to DMC, there's more DMC content to come, but for now, I have some other things I'm focused on.